Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Vidyavi, Mentor for Dental Material and Prosthodontics. I am also the author of Dental Material Mind Map book, and today we are diving into a very interesting topic, and that's the casting procedure. Till now, we were learning about the materials, wax, the investment material, temperature range. All of this will now start making sense when we look into the casting procedure. So let's just quickly dive. And this master chart that I like to call is all that you need to remember. So if I have to tell you to remember one name, that's going to be William H. Taggart. Very important, because the technique that we are going to be talking about today, which is the lost wax technique, was developed by him in 1907, and he has been known as father of casting in dentistry. So when I talk about casting, what restorations come to your mind, or what is that one thing that quickly comes to your mind? Crown, right? So we will take crown as an example, but this can be a short span bridge, this can be an RPD framework, anything that I want to convert from my wax into metal. May it be a single unit, may it be multi-unit, may it be framework, can be done using my casting procedure. So the first and foremost thing would be to prepare my tip. And now what I want is to record it properly in my impression. It's very important that my finish line is visible properly. So now that I have my impression that's poured, I'm actually going to prepare the die. So what exactly is meant by die? This is nothing but the workable unit on which you're going to actually make your pattern. So you are prepared to surface that you are actually going to pour the impression with die stone, and you will get a workable unit which will be a replica of the tooth that has been prepared, is nothing but the die. Now die can either be prepared from die stone or can be electroformed. So impression when electroform has deposition, and this acts as a die, and you apply a die spacer. Why do you think a die spacer is required? Yes, it's actually going to create space for your cement. In future, you need to cement it onto the tooth, right? So you have to keep a very small micron, 20 to 25 micron of space that will be present to apply the cement to lute it. Now, once you have the die, you start preparing the pattern out of it. All the waxing and carving and everything will be done. So can you tell me which wax are you going to use for this? Yes, it is your Inlay Wax or your pattern wax. Once you have this wax pattern, you start doing your carving, finishing and polishing. And a perfect contour of crown or my prosthesis is established. Now once my wax pattern is formed, what do I want to do? I want to attach it to a unit, correct? So let's just quickly go here. What I want you to see is this pattern. Okay, I had my die which can be separated from my cast, and I used a contrasting wax. Remember when I was talking about the properties of waxes, I said the color needs to be contrasting so that you can visualize it well. So now I want to convert this thing that's in wax into metal. So what am I going to do? I'm going to actually attach it to a base using something that's known as your sprue. So let's just now quickly understand what exactly is a sprue. Sprue is nothing but like a channel or a pipe that's actually going to make way for your metal to flow. So imagine your metal flowing from here and taking the entire thing that was once occupied by wax. So this is known as your Sprue Former. Now Sprue Former will be made up of multiple materials. It can either be wax, plastic or metal. Now wax and plastic are very easy because they will just melt and disintegrate and make a channel. So if I have, let's say, a mold, here I have something which is completely made up of wax. So when I'm going to subject this to heat, what's going to happen? It's going to melt. And that will create a hollow space. Instead of wax, now there's nothing. So now I have a mold. So now I can replace this using my metal. So what was previously in wax now got converted into metal. So this thing can also be used. And the thickness of your wax pattern is going to be proportional to the thickest portion of the entire pattern that has been formed. Where do you attach it? So now one thing is the length. Basically, it needs to be 1.5 inch away from the end. So when I talk about the casting ring, I'll explain how it needs to be away. But before that, what is very important is what should be the angle? Where do you exactly attach your Sprue Former? So if you see, it's not attached perpendicular, but it is at an angle. And that angle is around 45 degrees for your molten metal to flow properly. What exactly are the functions now? It's actually going to form the mount for the wax pattern, will be channel for wax elimination as well. So if I know that something can enter from here and fill it. So what is entering? That's my metal. But what's going to leave? That's going to be my wax. So it'll be entry for molten metal, but exit for my wax. And there will also be a reservoir that's actually going to help additional molten metal to be there. At the same time, sprue is generally removed later on. It'll be cut. You just need your crown with your occlusal surface. But if at all there are going to be any deficiencies, it will be taken care by the metal that's present in this channel. So it's basically like a reservoir that's present. So when I talk about placement, I said something about 1/4 inch away from the end. That's nothing but your 6 mm from the end completely. That's nothing but the 6 mm away from your end. Now when I have to place the ring, I have a base, I have a sprue on its 45 degree, I have the thickest portion, the bulk of my wax pattern that's attached. It's going to look the opposite way. It's not going to be attached to the cervical portion. It's going to be attached to my occlusal portion. So when I attach this, it's going to look vice versa. Now what I want you to understand is that what are the parts of a casting ring? You are often shown as the identification spot. So basically, it has various parts. First is going to be the base. The base has something that is forming the bulk. This is going to act like your reservoir. Post that, there will be your wax. There's going to be a channel that's actually going to govern the entry of my metal and the exit of my wax. And it is going to take the shape of my entire crown that needs to be casted. So now, if I have this, I am going to create a mold by pouring what inside this? Exactly, that's going to be my investment material. So I know that if I have to put my investment material into it, it has to act like a vessel. So I'll have a casting ring that forms the wall, and I have a ring liner. Now ring liner is going to perform various functions. What is it going to do? Basically, it will allow the expansion to occur. I know, right? There is thermal expansion, setting expansion, hygroscopic expansion, all associated with my investment material. So it will allow that space for the expansion to occur. Also act like a thermal insulator. And when you want to remove, it'll govern that space that can easily help in retrieval. Now this can be made up of various materials. It can be ceramic, it can be cellulose, it can be aluminium silicate. And the either combination of these three. Basically, what you see here, so because this is a cross section, you cannot see, but what I want you to imagine is something that's going to surround the entire wall, and it's actually going to provide the pathway for your expansion to occur. Now moving to the investment material. I have the mold setup done. I need to pour the material. You apply the wetting agent. You start mixing. What are the types of investment material? Quickly, I'll just name it: gypsum bonded investment material, phosphate bonded investment material, and silica. Gypsum, G for the gold. Phosphate for your base metal alloy. Silica also for your base metal alloy. But because of the health hazards and technique sensitivity, now I know that I'm going to use most frequently my phosphate bonded investment material. Once I have mixed it properly, I'm going to pour it, just like I pour my cast. You have gypsum and water mixed and you start pouring it, right? You pour it and you let it set for an hour. Now once it has set, I know that gypsum bonded will require 650 to 700 to disintegrate. Apart from that, my phosphate bonded will have 800 to 1100, and my silica bonded is more than 1100. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove the wax. And what do I have to do for that? I have to subject it to heating. So the basic thing is to eliminate the wax. At the same time, there's going to be thermal expansion that's going to happen because of the heat that's being subjected. What are the types of burnout? How can I exactly generate heat and melt my wax? There can be something known as 2 stages. The first stage is accountable for single step, wherein I preheat my furnace, I keep it ready, and then I hold my casting there for around half an hour to 45 minutes. So when I do the preheating, I subject it to 700 to 800 degrees Celsius. Then I put it for a stable temperature for around half an hour to 45 degrees. But when it's going to happen in 2 stage, we usually do it for our plastic sprues. What happens is, the ring has been placed in furnace. For 20 minutes, it will be subjected to 400 degrees. Then you maintain that temperature for around 3 minutes. And then you subject it directly to your 700 degree. So there are stages that are present. And this will make sure that on 400, the plastic sprue has melted completely. On 700, you hold it for the entire wax to disintegrate and be eliminated from the channel. Now, would it be possible to use a gypsum investment material here? No, because for 700, it will start releasing sulfur dioxide gas, which will lead to decomposition. Now, casting. What exactly is meant by casting? I have my metal that will be present like ingots. So like basic coin-like structure, or let's say cylindrical structure, can I just put it in? I want it to flow, and for to flow, I have to melt it. What can I use? I can either use a centrifugal machine that will have the pressure that's generated, rotation that just pushes it to the peripheral, or my air pressure to insert that metal with some amount of force into it. What is the heating mechanism? I first need to melt it before pushing it in. I can either use torch, induction, or the arc. So all of this are actually accountable for melting. Then once I have done this, I have my metal that has flown into it. I let it cool down gradually. It will harden into a solid substance. What do? I sandblast it. So I'm going to remove it. First, I'm going to put it in 50% hydrochloric acid. What is this going to do? It's going to remove all the surface oxides, and this 50% hydrochloric acid is warm. So basically, the warmth is going to ensure that there is proper removal and I get a clean surface. Then I use compressed air to wash away all surface contaminants. And what I'm going to get is a free of oxide, free of contaminant. Also, there are abrasive particles like aluminium that can be used to sandblast the superficial layer that might have come in contact with the contaminants and just make that lustrous bond come soon. Once I have sandblasted it, what am I going to do? First thing, if you remember, I had my crown, I had my sprue. Now I want you to recall that my crown and my sprue will entirely be made up of metal. But what do I need to cement? Just the upper portion. So I'm going to section this and I will have my crown in my hand. So once the sprue has been sectioned, I trim the casting, give proper shape, sectioning, everything, finishing, polishing. The matte finish now converts into something that's very glazed. And why is it important to have polishing done? Is it just for aesthetics? It is for aesthetics, but it's also for maintaining your hygiene. How does polishing enhance hygiene? If you eliminate the rough surfaces, I know that it's going to become very glazy or glossier in structure, not accumulate any block to it, and in turn, it'll be easier for me to maintain the oral hygiene, to clean it properly. So this was about how exactly the casting procedure is done. So just to quickly revise, what are the three investment materials? Gypsum bonded, phosphate bonded and silica bonded. Gypsum bonded will be used for low fusing, particularly gold. Your phosphate for high fusing or high melting alloys, which is cobalt chromium, nickel chromium, or your metal ceramic. And your silica bonded will be used for base metal alloy for partial danger but no longer used because of the health hazards and technique sensitivity. Also, we talked about melting, correct? We need to melt our ingots. What can be used? We talked about arc, induction, torch method. When am I using the gas? I have to make sure that propane is the best choice for noble metal. Acetylene, if I'm using, it's going to cause carbon contamination. So prickling becomes very important here. Natural gas is useful, but it's slightly less efficient. Hydrogen provides clean, but it has lower density and hence it's not very widely used. So something that is going to be routinely used is going to be my propane or butane burner. So this was about the basics of your casting procedure. This one master chart will be enough. And if you are also somebody who likes to make notes, add points, you would want to mark something that's important or highlight it, you can go to the app. There is a feature of annotating. And that will be the best because you will be able to feel like it's your own set of notes that you're working from. So now can you tell me what is Spruing? Spruing is nothing but adding a channel which is either made up of wax, plastic or metal that's going to act like a rod to provide the path for molten metal and for the elimination of your wax. Moving on to the MCQ, retrieval of casting by breaking the mold is known as, so I remove it, right? So I did enter my metal into it, I did let it set, but then I'm going to retrieve it. If putting the investment material is called investing, removing and breaking that investment material is going to be known as divesting. What is burnout? It's the wax elimination process. Spruing is the attachment of channel. Investing is nothing but making the mold. And your divesting is breaking the mold to retrieve the prosthesis. So if you also enjoyed and you would want more videos like this, go binge watch the entire playlist now. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video very soon. Keep watching.